It's Mary Wieden and You.
Maybe you better leave the radio on, Ty.
Here on 97.3 FM, SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Let's do it.
Good morning, everybody. We are going to talk about a lot of things, but I think everybody is concerned about what's been going on I-20 westbound near Brandon this morning. An 18-wheeler overturned very early in the early morning hours, but the first alert that I saw from MDOT was at 6 o'clock, and I've heard it on television, on radio and everything. So I just talked with the police department in Brandon that they're still working, a number of people, working that accident. It's near exit 56, near the downtown exit. And all I know is that it was a woman who was driving the 18-wheeler. It's in the ditch still. She died. She was from Arkansas. And I can tell you from covering a lot of those from the helicopter, these 18-wheelers, when they overturn, it's a really lengthy process to get them uprighted and out of there. Especially now, maybe there are toxic things. I don't know what the truck was carrying. But it's tied up traffic. There's one lane that does go through. This is westbound at 56. As they call it, the 56, westbound. You can get... it's in the ditch, but you can get the left lane, you can get past the thing. But it takes a long, long time. And if they've got things that were spilled, then you have to have EPA and DEQ and everybody, but I don't know about that. But I just know that there have been a lot of responders, as you would expect, police, state police, city police, EMTs, et cetera. And obviously the coroner had to come through at one point as well. So it's going to be a while, but to get the thing uprighted is one thing. And then you have to get it on some sort of a vehicle to get it out of there. So it's going to take, I'd have to say, the better part of the morning and perhaps into the afternoon. So again, it's still going. Now, something that happened a couple days ago, it's a sad thing. Luckily, nobody was hurt. It was at the Gateway Rescue Mission in Jackson. They had a fire, and I've got their executive director, Rex Baker, on the phone to tell us, what can we do for you? Rex, hi, good morning.
Good morning, Mary.
How goes it?
The fire was actually at our thrift store in Pearl.
Uh-huh.
It's on Highway 80 there, and it was on our loading dock. And we were very fortunate that the fire was contained to the loading dock and did not spread into the building. So we didn't lose the building or anything like that.
Good.
We've got some cleanup going on right now, and we'll be closed a little while to get there was a little bit of water damage in a couple of rooms from the fire hoses. But this was late Saturday afternoon, and if you remember the weather that day, we had a lot of wind coming through the area. So it was just one of those moments, but we were very, very fortunate that the fire department it was spotted quickly. The fire department got out there quickly and put it out.
And nobody was hurt?
Nobody was hurt. It was right after the store had closed and everybody had just left.
Wow. And you said a little bit of water damage, but now what was on that? And how can we help you replace things, or what do you need?
Yes, the main thing that folks can do for us, give us a couple of weeks to kind of, we've got some cleanup to do, and there's some steel beams in the roof over the dock that need to be replaced. But what we will need is donations of household items, to because right now we're not able to take donations at this moment.
Okay, so where would they put things? If somebody said, "All right, I can get you, gallons of this and the other thing."
What I would ask people to do is hold off for a couple of weeks.
Oh, okay.
Right now we can't store anything, and because our dock's closed. But if they'll give us a couple of weeks, and where we'll know a lot more then about when we start making pickup runs or when people can drop things off. But just that's what we would need from the public is donations of household goods.
Well, I'm thinking of anything you need on the spot for cleaning up, where this happened, or do you have enough, whatever you need to clean up where the fire was and all that? Do you have enough on location for there? Because I'm sure people are like, well, I'd be happy to give them if they need it for the cleanup part.
Yeah.
But
Mary,
you don't?
We're good there because we just have, we have our New Life program, which is an addiction recovery program for men. And so those guys have been gold.
Oh,
going
good.
over there and rolling up their sleeves and getting in that. What a lot of the cleanup is. There's some items we have to throw away that got burned, but also there were some ceiling tiles where the water comes through from the water hose, and it just creates sort of this thick sludge on the floor, and you see these guys who maybe a few months ago they were coming out of prison or they were coming off drugs, and you see these same people now, they're in there with shovels and garbage cans, and they're cleaning up. And what I noticed most of all, they were doing it with smiles, and they were not complaining.
Wonderful.
I was like, man, if that was me, I'd be complaining. but they're just really good with that sort of thing. And so we're blessed there also.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Well, okay, so we'll wait to hear from you. Let us know on the air, off the air, when you're ready to take donations, and we'll help you out with that if we can do that.
Okay, we'll do that, Mary. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thanks, and take care. Stay warm too, Rex. Appreciate it.
All right.
Rex Baker with Gateway Rescue Mission. Now we're going to talk to somebody who knows a whole lot of things about what's going on in a certain town in Rankin County, doing very well, as a matter of fact, and that would be Brandon and Chamber of Commerce. And we got Robert Graham. That name sounds familiar because he was on the show in November, I guess it was, talking about their skating rink that they were putting up, not real ice, but close to it. It was the best product of imitation ice that there is. So, Robert, welcome back. Glad to have you with us this morning. How did that go, by the way? I mean, I came and saw it one day. I brought my coach friend, skating coach friend from Hazelhurst, and we looked at it. And, I could touch it. I couldn't, I can't even I'm not allowed to put skates on at all. Because if I had them on in my house and fell over with these hips that I have, I would not get insurance to pay for a new hip. But I put, my boot there, and it felt great, and it looked really good. So how'd it go?
Well, good morning, Mary. Thank you for having me. Glad to be here for my second visit. It went fantastic. It was great. It was very well received by the public. Attendance went well. It fit our mission perfectly to be a family-friendly oriented event. We did purchase the equipment, the rink, the skates, things like that, and we're breaking it down now and putting it in storage. And it'll be back for this coming fall, Christmas. Or
even before, maybe. Well, I would tell the audience that, or tell you that I did review it on the air when I came back and saw it. I was very impressed with it. And I was impressed also with the quality of ice skates, because usually the ice skates that you see that you rent are raggedy-looking things, old leather, busted and falling apart and everything. But I said, these are almost like ski boot material. And it will hold your ankle in. I mean, they're very good looking, and I saw the sharpener and all that kind of stuff. And I was very impressed with everything. So, but if you ever get a cover for it in the middle of the summer, not that
that may happen down the road.
You never can tell, but you did have good. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad that you had a good turnout with people.
Yep, we did. We purchased it, and it should be open again probably somewhere around the week of Thanksgiving.
Oh, okay.
And we'll run it again through probably the new year.
Oh, well, that'll be because you only had it for what, 2-3 weeks this year?
Oh no, we had it for
longer than I know about.
The week before Thanksgiving through January the 11th. So it ran for quite a while this time.
And how were people about not gouging it? And if they gouged it, you put a new panel in, right?
Sure.
So, but how were they about that?
Yeah, these are polymer panels that mimic ice a little bit slower than real ice, but still has a slippery function to it. We didn't have any damage, and we didn't have any real injuries. We had a few falls, a few bruised tailbones, I'm sure.
Look, if you don't fall then you're not skating. I mean, you just got to do that. Yeah,
correct.
I think the last time I skated was in Pearl when they had the thing, and this is amazing because you can just be standing there and you fall. Your skates go out from under you and you're on your tailbone. I don't know if you saw that happen to somebody.
It did.
Yes. Did it happen to you?
No. I'm sad to say that I did not get my big rear end out there.
No, you know what? It's not sad. Well, but the last time I fell, I did that. I was just standing there, and then all of a sudden my feet went out from under me, and for a nanosecond I saw stars, and I thought, uh-oh, I've done something horrible to myself. Yeah. And I had to have one of their guards pull me up because that's never happened like that. So I think that's probably the last thing before my hips really probably just that did them in. But anyway, that happens. But people were good though. I'm glad. And did anybody? I don't know. I haven't even talked to my friends since then. But did somebody come and help teach people kind of how to skate a little bit?
We did. We had a few former hockey players and people that were involved with the Jackson Bandits and things like that came out and assisted and did some demonstration once or twice. Didn't really have any problem with that. The public received it very, very well.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad to hear that about the hockey players. They happen to be very good skaters. I mean, I don't know these guys personally, but I went to one Red Wings game one time back in my hometown, Detroit. I mean, the skating was really, for me, worth more than anything because how did they do that with those blades? I don't understand that. You don't have toe picks or anything,
Right.
but they managed to do it in fine shape. Well, that's good, though. I'm glad to hear that. So, okay, we'll wait for that. In the meanwhile, what's your title with the Chamber of Commerce?
I'm currently the president of the Brandon Chamber in Brandon, Mississippi.
Well, that's congratulations. And how long does your term last?
I'm not sure. You have to ask the board. We do have an election once a year. Mr. Lance Stevens served for the first year and a half or so, and he's still on our board. We have a very nice board of 5. We're probably going to add a couple more here soon because we've got so many really nice projects coming up. We need some assistance with that. But we've got a good vice president with Melissa Skaggs. But I would imagine that we'll probably swap roles here in the next few months.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
It's good, though. I mean, that's a good feeling place. The thing
It
to
is.
do, and a thing to do, especially Brandon is growing so fast. Brandon, I think, is the fastest growing, obviously, in Rankin County, whereas in Madison County, you got competition from Madison, the city, and Gluckstadt.
Gluckstadt,
and
correct.
I guess they're still having their trial. I haven't heard anything since the first day, but there's this block of land in
Right.
between the two of them. It abuts the south end of Gluckstadt and the north end of Madison. They each want it, and who knows what's going to happen. But they're going and blowing in terms of growth, and
are.
I think Brandon is too. I hear a lot of good things about Brandon.
We are. Brandon is booming. That's just the best way I could put it. But to put it in context, according to the 2020 census, Brandon was the highest percentage increase in population organically in the state. And I say
Really?
organically because there was another city, I think it was Oxford, that had a higher increase in population, but it was due to annexation. We are growing. It was a little sleeping city of 10,000 just 30, 40 years ago, and now we're at 26,000. The economic development is really going well. Our city and community is blessed by a great city administration, good alderman, mayor, but also very supportive citizens, businesses, and some nonprofits. A lot of people say the volunteerism is dead, and it is to a degree in some areas. But in our area, we have a lot of people that really want to volunteer and help between our chamber, the Rankin Chamber, located in Brandon, and then you've got other ones such as Brandon Main Street Association. Then you have the Exchange Club of Brandon, which did the Brandon on Ice.
Right.
You got the Rotary Club and Kiwanis are all very active.
You don't compete with each other. Obviously, you can't.
No.
You'll go and compete with like Madison and Gluckstadt.
Sure,
there to an
to a
extent.
degree, to a degree.
because
And
we're also closely tied.
Yeah, and it's also
Pearl
interesting
is
to
there,
note
too.
that while we were the highest increase in population organically in the state, we still maintain a very safe environment. We're rated as the second safest city in the state several years in a row, and that hasn't changed. So
Good.
we think it's a great place to live.
Got a good PD. And good people
do.
who understand, hey, let's not go nuts, essentially.
Yes.
No, you don't need that. This is quite interesting. You've got a race for mayor. How many people have you got in this race?
Correct. Yeah, it's kind of unusual to me is that we have so many races, but really only 2 contested. The mayoral race has an incumbent, Butch Lee, who has served 2 terms, a little bit more than 2 terms. He came in for another mayor that didn't quite finish the term. And so he would be a 3-term elected mayor should he win. And then a current House of Representative legislator in the 60th District, Mr. Fred Shanks, is challenging him.
And that's a Brandon name, Shanks.
It is.
People know. Yeah, people know
It
the
is.
Shanks name. He was the son of Doug Shanks.
That's right.
Yes, who
That's
has
right.
since passed away.
So that's only one of 2 contested races. The other contested race would be, Ward 5. The incumbent is Dwight Middleton, and he has a challenger with Mr. Jeremy King. The rest of them, Ward 1, we got Jared Crane, who's running unopposed as an independent. We've got Mr. Chris Benson in Ward 2, Mr. Harry Williams in Ward 3, Mr. Luke Coker, who has been there quite some time, doing a great job in Ward 4. Mr. David Ferris is in Ward 6 as an incumbent. And, of course, our at-large, who got elected last election, is also running unopposed, and that's Ms. Sharon Womack.
That's amazing that, for what's your population? Because you got all those wards, you got as many wards, almost as much as Jackson, which has a few more people than you do. How do you have so many wards?
Well, they
Just
just drew new ward lines last year. I guess there's some laws in that, right? So they kind of rearranged a few things. For all intents and purposes, most people have the same areas, the same neighborhoods, but there were a few that were adjusted. So some of these people that are running, even though they're running unopposed, are running with new neighborhoods that they didn't have to deal with before.
Where are the new neighborhoods? Are they out toward the 18? I guess toward 18, near the road that goes by the high school and all that out there. There's a lot of land out there.
There is. That hasn't been really developed yet. Where the real growth is coming is Grants Ferry Parkway has been sitting there, and it will be developed sooner or later.
Grants Ferry Parkway?
Grants Ferry Parkway kind of goes around.
Grants Ferry, folks. So that's the same Grants Ferry that goes up to Spillway Road.
Yeah.
And,
that's right.
I've traveled that one, but
Cornerstone is one of our larger subdivisions. Yes. They're adding I think it's their last phase of 20 or 30 houses, and I think Spears Crossing is finishing up their last phase. Town Station, which has 174 houses now, is adding 41.
Where's that?
It is right off Lewis Wilson, almost to Highway 18 in the area you were referring to.
Yes, and that's the way you would go. But nowadays, you just stay on Crossgates Boulevard, Highway 18, and take a left.
Could, yeah.
Well, you don't have to take a left. You just wander on down. There you are.
And then we've got a large subdivision. I say it's large just because of where it's located. It's in the historic district almost off of College Street called Collier Crossing. And it's adding 77 houses. It's under construction right now.
Wow.
So there's residential's growing, but we've also had some new restaurants, things like that.
What do you got for new restaurants?
Joe's Diner just opened.
Oh.
The same Joe's Diner that's in Flowood.
Yep.
Pancho's Mexican Restaurant has opened in downtown, and there's a couple more that are coming.
I have to tell you, of course, I live at the Reservoir, which on the Rankin side, and that's a Brandon mailing address. People cannot get that through their heads that we're not in Brandon. And I challenge people who think they're in Brandon. Go call the Brandon Street Department and say, "Hey, my street over here on whatever is not working right," and you'll be told you don't live in Brandon. Duh. But anyway.
Yeah, you actually leave Brandon.
Yeah, Brandon. Look on a map. You know why that is?
It is a little different. That's an unincorporated area that calls itself Brandon, but they don't vote in the municipal elections, obviously.
And it's called that because when they built the reservoir in the 60s, they had to have a mailing address. They had to have a zip code, and the closest zip code was Brandon, and that's how that happened. And we're going to take a break here. Yeah.
Well, every city resident of Brandon has a 39042 zip code.
And we're
But strangely, there's also 12,000 population that have a 39042 that do not live in Brandon.
We'll come back and clear.
In addition to the 047s.
We'll take a break here. Be back in a minute. Okay, welcome back to Mary Wieden and You. Glad to have you along with us today. I've got Robert Graham. Yes, he's the same one who came from the Exchange Club, but he's the president of the Jackson Chamber of Commerce. The Brandon Chamber. And Brandon Chamber of Commerce. And he is at 888-808-8637 if you wish to call and speak with him. You can text him at 601-879-4395. That's 879-4395. Or watch us, supertalk.fm/Mary. You can see what we look like. This is quite fascinating. We'll talk about some of these famous mayors. And we were talking about, you got two running now. And then we got into this discussion about the reservoir on the Rankin side being a Brandon mailing address. And that's what it was. I was saying during the break, when they built the reservoir in 1965, they had to have a zip code. So they said, the closest one was Brandon. Okay, you'll be Brandon zip code for mail only. We don't belong to Brandon. And, I don't know if you want us or not, but I rather like being unincorporated. It's fewer taxes to have to pay and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, that's the deal on that. But you've got some interesting tales about mayors of Brandon. You said you got two running this time. You got Butch Lee, the incumbent, and Fred Shanks of the legislature running against him. But some interesting things, and there is a connection to Robin Williams. But when was the first mayor of Brandon?
The first mayor of Brandon was a gentleman by the name of Albert Langley. Now, the city, keep in mind, it was incorporated in 1831. I'm not sure why, but our first mayor was 1871, July 21st, actually, and that was Albert Langley. And according to records, we've had 32 gentlemen serve as mayor.
Okay. Well, that's not so bad for that period of time. And I guess how long did some of these people serve for? And there are famous names in there that, like McLaurin is a name.
Yeah, there's some McLaurins in there, some old Brandon names. Yeah. There's a Tigard in there, several McLaurins. I think we've had one gentleman by the name of H.D. Cole that served 3 terms. And to my knowledge, that's the only 3-termer. The rest of them were 1 term and 2 terms.
Because they didn't want to do it, or did they have term limits on them? Or
I couldn't answer that.
Hey, come on, wake up, leave some stuff, and then tell the Robin Williams connection.
There's a connection with the famous comedian Robin Williams. A lot of people don't realize his middle name is McLaurin. Yeah, that same McLaurin. He is the great-great-grandson of former Senator and Governor Anselm McLaurin, who was born in Brandon, Mississippi. So Robin's mother is from Jackson, but his middle name is McLaurin, named after his great-great-grandfather.
I'll be darned. I remember when I came here in the 80s, Brandon was like, where? Brandon? Where's that? That was just a sign away. That's all it is. It's amazing.
That's right.
I mean, it has really grown a lot. And so what are the advantages of being a member of the Chamber of Commerce? And do you, by the way, recruit businesses to join, or do they join on their own, or how does that work?
We're like any chamber. You have to believe in their mission. A lot of it's the advocacy for what the chamber represents.
Which is?
And we want to uphold the economic standards of our city, recruit new business, keep Brandon. We think we have a great city. We want to keep it that way. We also are very involved with our events, and I'll speak to that real quick.
Yeah, well, you got a lot of stuff.
We're about to kick off our Lunch and Learn series, which is a monthly luncheon where we have a very nice speaker. It's on Wednesdays of each month. Our first is going to be April 9th, and I'm pleased to announce that we will have as our speaker that day Mr. Douglas Carswell.
Oh, yeah.
You may know him.
Oh, he's been on the show many times.
I'm sure he has. He's a former member of Parliament in the United Kingdom from 2005 to 2017, and he's currently the president and CEO of the Mississippi Center for Public Policy.
And he cannot say enough nice things about Mississippi.
Correct.
How many times you've met him several times?
Sure.
I'm sure.
Sure.
He's just so into Mississippi. I think, well, that's really great because his perspective is so different.
It's incredibly interesting to talk to someone like him with the accent. That's really cool, of course.
Of course.
But for him to speak so intelligently with that British accent, having served in Parliament, and then talk about not only what it meant for him to move to the U.S., but to move to Rankin County and live in Brandon. Now, he's an 047.
Right, I think that.
But he also stands for a lot of things, and one of the things that he is talking about right now is the option of school choice.
Oh, yes. That is his big thing.
So that'll be an interesting discussion, and I can't wait to hear him.
Who gets to come to that?
I'm sorry?
Who gets to come to that? Can the public come?
Yeah, the public can. Members get a little discount. We haven't put the tickets online yet. It's going to be at Jenna Benna's in their back room on the at 11:30 on Wednesday, April 9th. And we'll have that posted on brandonchamber.org on our website and also on our social media. We expect to have a full capacity for that, gentlemen. We've had the mayor speak. We've had the superintendent of education speak. So we're really happy with our Lunch and Learns. Beyond that, the Chamber is also going to be hosting our third annual St. Patrick's Kids Parade. It's for kids, so it's in the morning on Saturday.
No dogs, just kids.
Yeah, well, they can bring a dog, but it's not your usual nighttime throwing things. Yeah. But it's March 22nd, and that's usually attended by a couple hundred kids and their families.
A kids parade.
A kids parade.
Where?
And
what time?
It starts at 9 o'clock. It runs till about 11.
Yeah.
We have a DJ and some fun and games going on.
Where are you starting?
It starts in the back parking lot, kind of next to Brandon United Methodist Church.
Okay.
Right in the middle of downtown. If you get to downtown, you're going to see it. Yeah, you'll know where you are.
Yeah.
And then our marquee event each year is the Lemonade Day. And we're going to be celebrating our third annual Lemonade Day on Saturday, March 10th. So if you're curious about that, this is... we take a lot of pride in this. This is where we're teaching kids to be entrepreneurs. We're teaching these kids how to operate their own business, how to write a check, how to handle their expenses and things like that.
They need to know.
So we have kids anywhere from 4 or 5 years old up to about 13 to participate. Last year, we had about 75 lemonade stands throughout the community. So on that day, when you drive through, I hope you're thirsty. And going to have a smile on your face because you're going to be drinking a lot of lemonade. Go around. It's a really, really cool event. And to our knowledge, we're the only city in the state that's done it the last 2 years.
Where do you do it?
It's all over the city. Yeah. And on brandonchamber.org, we'll have a link to a map where you can see where all of them are because the kids register. They don't just show up with a lemonade stand. they go to these classes and workshops and they learn from speakers. It's really cool. Everything's kind of handmade. They are required to post a recipe, make their own lemonade, make their own stand. And some of these are quite elaborate. Some of them aren't. Some of them look a little Charlie Brown Christmas tree-ish, which is fantastic. And then we have a lot lot of prizes and awards.
That's really a nice thing. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, it's a national program. There's over 100 cities in the country that do it.
Really? How wonderful. Must be some kids in my neighborhood, 047, where have been to that because all of a sudden I'll see some lemonade stands.
We had a few in 047 last year. We had some in 39232 in Flowood as well.
Yeah, you would figure that because they have a Brandon mailing address that
we welcome them all.
047s would do that. You know, that's cool. Okay,
yep.
What else you got? That's really Lemonade Day, the 10th of March.
Yep.
Kids Parade is on the 22nd of March. Lunch and Learn is April the 9th. So you do have a lot of cool
And
things.
then each month on a Wednesday after that.
Lunch and Learn.
And then a couple other events. Our city is really event-driven. We have, like I said, we're blessed with a lot of volunteer organizations, nonprofits. The Exchange Club. It's not to the public, but it's interesting that the Exchange Club of Brandon is actually hosting the statewide midwinter conference tomorrow, Saturday, February 22nd, where most every club will send representatives into Brandon to discuss what the Exchange Club is all about. Which, by the way, the Exchange Club's primary mission is to raise awareness and to fight human trafficking and child abuse.
Very good.
So we are having, that's who ran Brandon on Ice, as you know.
Yes.
And then we're also going to have what we're calling the BCAP Festival. BCAP stands, it's an acronym that stands for Brandon Exchange Child Abuse Prevention. April is Child Abuse Awareness Month around the country.
April? Okay.
April is. So on April 11th and 12th, we're going to have a BCAP Festival, which is a vendor show, like an arts and crafts festival. And we're kicking that off the night before on April 10th with a live concert on our property there where the skating rink is, and the Molly Ringwalds are going to play. If you recall, they were supposed to play at Christmas, and we had like tornado watches.
Oh, I hate it when that happens.
So we had to reschedule them. So they're going to be there April the 10th.
Okay.
And then a couple of other events. Brandon Main Street Association has opened a new office in downtown, right in the middle of the action there. And they have lots of local events as well. They're starting their monthly wine downs, where Thursday night you can have wine tasting. I think they're doing 8 different drinks. And their first one in March, the first one is Thursday, March 20th. And it's kind of a little walk area all around downtown, and they do that once a month.
Really?
And, yeah, you better register, though, because the tickets sell out.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, and that's from 5:30 to 8 each time they do it. And then they're also doing their second annual Crawfish Crawl 5K. Ooh. So I know you said you don't skate, but you can walk, you can run. So you got to come down, have a drink, do the Crawfish Crawl. It starts behind Mudbugs 042, also in downtown, and that's on Saturday, April 5th. And that's from 9 to 2.
But what if you don't eat mud bugs?
Well, you can still walk and drink, or drink and walk.
Because they look creepy. But I understand. If you tear them all the way down, you can tear them all the way down, you get a nice little, it's probably about the size of my little finger.
You
but
do.
It's really good.
It's a little bit of work. It's a little bit of work.
You got to go through a little bit, and it's delicious, they say. But anyway.
That's right. And then the Rankin County Chamber has their big events. They do many, but their big event is their 6th annual Crew-to-Roo Festival.
Oh,
that's coming
good.
up. That's next week.
Ooh, okay.
So next Friday, they're going to have a big parade. It's a Mardi Gras parade. So it's not, it's family friendly, but it's not a kids parade. It's an adult parade as well.
We've got one at the reservoir coming up sometime in there, too.
They do.
They do. It's going to start at Waterwood at 11 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, but I'm not sure what Saturday it is.
Yeah, this one's Friday, February 28th, and then the next day the fun continues. They also have a block party till 10 or 11, I think, that Friday night, with live music. And then the next day, on March 1st, they have their Gumbo Festival at the Brandon Amphitheater.
Who does all this booking? Who books all these things? Who plans all these things?
Well, that's what I'll say. We're very blessed by all our nonprofits. There's a lot of people that volunteer in Brandon with different organizations.
So they'll say, well, let's do this, and call up whatever the chamber or one of these other organizations, say, hey, let's do this, and book it someplace.
Correct.
Get it on your website.
I can't really speak for the others because I'm involved with the Exchange Club and the Brandon Chamber, but I'm sure they do what we do, and that is when we want to plan something, we look at the others' calendar to make sure that we're not trying to do something at the same time, or maybe there's something we can do together. But usually it's spread out, and with all the groups doing it, there's always something going on.
Yeah, that's wonderful because there's a lot of booking, and that's a lot of work that goes into that, But anyway, go ahead. So how's the amphitheater doing?
Oh, it's doing great. Their season is kicking off in April. I actually have a list here. There's 10 acts currently booked. They usually have about 15 by the end of the year. The season usually runs from April to about November.
Let's go through that when we come back from this break already, okay?
Let's do
We'll
it.
come back. We'll do the amphitheater when we come back. Stay with us. It's Mary Wieden You, and this is Robert Graham. He is the president of the C of C of Brandon. We'll be right back. Still kicking. Is he coming? Is he going to come to the amphitheater?
It's the amphitheater.
And it's got an H in there because you don't call it going to the pharmacy. Go to the
we've got
pharmacy.
A little,
so you got
we've got a little joke. I made a post on Facebook recently. I'm making a small announcement about the amphitheater, and I call it the amp.
There you go.
It's the amp. And plus,
that's okay.
Spelling amphitheater is kind of problematic anyway. It's amphitheater. Actually, anyway. But we've got a certain dummy in Brandon. I say that lovingly that insists on abbreviating it AMPH, amp.
He's right,
and that's just not normal. So I had to throw that in there because he's probably listening. But nonetheless, the amphitheater is filling out their schedule. Their first event is going to be April 10th. Which I think is a Thursday, and that is Willie Nelson in Family.
Oh, yeah. I love
Willie. And look, I didn't see him last year. He played at the Amp. My wife went. I know a lot of people that did go, and they said it was really interesting to see such a legend.
Oh, yeah.
So it should be a very good concert.
Did I tell you the time Bert Case interviewed him? I did. Did I say it on the air? No. Well, now I can tell this part. It'd be okay. So Bert was doing the 10 o'clock news, and they were allowed to just get like 30 seconds worth of video. And at the end of the newscast, Bert said, when I'm done here, I'm going to go over the fairgrounds and see if I can get an interview with him. And so as it turns out, Willie liked to watch the number one newscast in town, which happened to be WLBT. And so Bert went over there at 10:30 and found the honeysuckle rose wasn't hard to find. And the guys said, he's waiting for you, Mr. Case, but it might smell a little different in there, okay? Just be aware of that. Well, it did. But Willie I think he told in the interview, he said that years ago he was very much on the edge of becoming a bad alcoholic, and he discovered marijuana, and it saved his life, he said. So, okay. And
interesting.
I don't know if he's still living in Maui, but his own Maui Wowie he made one. It's called Willie's Select. I don't know if it's still in business or not, but anyway, wow. That's what he told. And he was really a nice guy. He was just as nice as could be. And Bert said, "Can I touch your fingertips?" And they were, of course, like rocks. And then Bert also asked him, because Bert used to play guitar when he was a kid.
Sure.
And so he asked Willie, "Did you mind that Nashville basically told you to go pound sand when you first went there? They didn't like your voice stuff." He said, "Yeah, but I don't bear any animosity. I made a good life for myself. Went back to Texas, got famous in Texas, and got uber famous." But he was really nice. So I'm glad he's coming. Okay, what else you got at the Amp?
Yeah, we got other things going on at the Amp. The first one, of course, is Willie and Family, and we've got something for everybody. We've got some hard rock with Stained and Breaking Benjamin. And then I left off one little event. It's not a little event. The city, I think this is the second or third year in a row we'll be doing it, or the city will be doing it, is Jubilee Days. And that is Saturday and Sunday. It may even be Friday, but I know it's Saturday and Sunday, May 3rd and 4th. And they have a couple of concerts going on at that same time, spearheaded by Allison Krauss.
Oh, very good.
We have some Christian music. Got Toby back. You've got some old school. In my wheelhouse, you got Styx with Kevin Cronin from REO. And then you got another legend in August. This one's big, and that's Rod Stewart.
Whoa!
So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing that one. And then another one that's probably already a sellout. He was scheduled to play a couple of years ago at Brandon, and it sold out in one day. And then he had something come up he had to cancel. But that is Hardy. So Hardy is probably going to be a sellout if it's not already, and that is Thursday, September the 11th. And that's not the full schedule. This is just the first 10. They book more as it goes.
Well, they got a booking company, I think.
Yeah, they do. It's Red Mountain, or what's called Live Nation now. They're pretty huge in the industry, probably the biggest, and they blew the bookings.
I have to tell you, one of my favorite things in 047 is at night when the weather's warm, you can get a seat on the water edge at Shaggy's. You look out and you see lights in the far away, and there's water in the middle. You don't know where you are if you're in Pascagoula or if you're on Lake Huron. You don't know where you are. It's wonderful. It's like, wait a minute, I'm in Rankin County, Mississippi. How can that be? But it is beautiful. I will say that. And so one day I would hope that the reservoir will be in competition to be the shining light of economic development in central Mississippi. But until then, but it's amazing how you can do that. So that is
our
possible.
county is very diverse.
It is.
It's got a little bit of everything. And speaking of economic development, I'd like to add that Brandon is booming. And there's a couple things that we haven't had at Brandon that a lot of people have been wanting. One is hotels. We haven't had a lot of hotels. And the other is another grocery store. We only have a couple. And
you have Kroger.
Got Kroger.
You got a Piggly Wiggly, don't you?
No, the Piggly Wiggly is now a Planet Fitness. So you can work out there, and then we have Ramey's downtown. But Sullivan's Marketplace.
Are you getting them?
Had a groundbreaking this past Tuesday.
I hear they're great.
They are, and they did a groundbreaking this past week. They're going to start construction immediately on a 35,000 square foot grocery.
Where's it going to be?
Store. It's going to be on Orleans. I think it's Orleans Avenue, Orleans Lane. It's right by across from Home Depot.
Off
of Crosskeys Boulevard.
Oh, yeah.
That's a area that's going to be developed here pretty quickly.
Yes.
But they're going to have a 35,000 square foot grocery in addition to another 25,000 of retail and restaurant. So no announcement has been made, but there's going to be other stuff around there. And they say it's about a 10 to 11 month build out. So there's a possibility that by the end of the year, we'll have another grocery store. If not, it's probably January or February.
Yeah.
And then the big thing, we've had the old hotel is La Quinta. It has been totally renovated and purchased, and the owner's done a great job on it. It's 50-plus rooms, and now it's a Hilton flag called Spark Hotel. And it is significantly different and nicer than what it was before.
Is that on Highway 80?
It is on Crosskeys Boulevard, not far from Home Depot.
Okay.
Kind of across the road there.
Yeah, that's the hot area, isn't it?
And very close to the amphitheater. And then we have the Heights at Brandon. That we had a reveal about a year ago, and then they did a groundbreaking in November of 2024. And that's going to be a boutique hotel. Should be really nice. 82 rooms. It's going to be built just west of the City Hall, which is our Brandon Municipal Complex. It's going to have a lot of green space, some restaurants. It's a big development. It's a $55 million development.
So who are the people who are going to stay in all these places? Travelers?
We got people.
Convention people.
Well, we're the county seat. We obviously have a little bit of tourism going on because of the amphitheater and other things. People may come in town for a baseball game and things like that. Brandon has lacked a little bit in hotels, so this is a real important thing for our community.
Byram. You don't think of Byram as having a lot. They've got a bunch of hotels.
They do.
I can't remember how many they have. The mayor comes on a lot, but they've got a bunch of hotels.
They do.
And that's great. Like Byram. Yeah.
They do. Pearl's had some, obviously Flowwood along their little corridor on Lakeland does. But now Brandon's getting this one. And there's a Home 2 Suites that's scheduled to go in as well near Applebee's on, I guess that's Stribling Lane, also just north of Home Depot. So there's a lot going on in Brandon.
I'm so glad you came to tell us that because and it's predominantly 042. If people wonder, what did they say at 042, 047? That's how you identify things in Rankin County, I guess.
Yeah. Which Brandon do you live in, 042 or 047?
Yeah. We used to be 042, and then some years ago they said, well, we're changing your zip code. You can be 047. Oh, okay. Whatever. But that identifies, that's pretty much the reservoir area, I guess. I'm not sure where we start. If it starts on Old Fannin, I don't know.
It does. It's a little confusing. I think it's shaped like a crescent. It also goes over to Castle Woods, which is just east of Flowwood.
Right. Yeah. Which, who knows if they'll get. I'm happy not to be taken in, but, if we were going to be taken in, we'd rather be taken in by Brandon because, we don't want to have any complication stuff. Of course, this is a funny thing, too. Flowwood, you've watched it grow, I must say. I mean, it's gangbusters. It used to be just a bunch of glass factories down on Old Fannin, not Old Fannin, but on, what's the name of that road? Anyway,
Lakeland.
No, the back way, which is not the back way anymore. Anyway, not Flowwood Drive. Anyway, yeah, that's really grown a lot too. But Brandon, you've been there all along, and so you've just expanded and kind of just grown out to all of us, right? I think that's good. That's very good. So what else is going on? Anything else going on in Brandon?
That's about it that I can think of at the moment.
So,
but, we're very proud of our community. It's a great community.
Well, yeah, do you have this is a nutty question, but I was talking with a friend of mine the other day who said, well, remember in Germany, because she was a military brat too, as was I. People clean up their streets and stuff, and I'm thinking, we need to do that in this country. We really need to do that. But I guess people just take care of their own property, don't they? I mean, pretty much. You're in pretty good shape that way, which is nice. Very nice to know. Schools are good?
Absolutely. It's part of Rankin County School District, which is, I think, the second largest in the state. I think they have 22 or 28. I can't remember. In Brandon High School, 7A. Fantastic in athletics. Very well supported by the community. I go to it's called B Club, a luncheon, as often as possible. They have one during the football season every week. We have one about once a month in the off season, and we just had one 2 days ago. And the baseball coach spoke because the baseball team just won the state title last year.
Oh, yeah.
So the athletics are a strong part of Brandon as well.
Well, I'll tell you what, Robert Graham, thanks an awful lot for coming in. Now we know a lot more about Brandon than we had any idea. I didn't know all that stuff was going on there.
Thanks so much for having me. I'll come on anytime.
All righty. Thanks a lot. All right, everybody. Have a good weekend.
All right.